Hello, this is John Griffin, and I'm here today to talk about a concept that most rock guitarists probably won't know about. And if you've studied a lot of jazz, you may be familiar, but they're called kernel chords. At least that's the way I was taught. And they're very simple. They're just chords with the root, the third, and the seventh of minor, major, or dominant, so they have no fifths. They're very versatile. They can be used in place of dominant sharp fives. They can be used as a minor 7 flat 5 because there's no 5 in it. Makes it very easy to use for comping. I use it a lot when I'm just kicking back, trying out some chord ideas, some harmony stuff. Great for backing up vocalists. By using only the mid and low range, you have a lot more ability to just play as you want because the soloist is going to be usually in the higher register above you, the singers especially. They like it. Another thing that's good if you're got a really fast chord progression and you haven't rehearsed your chords in a while, or you don't know all the chords, you can just play these kernel chords and you're harmonically going to be correct without having to, reach for a sharp 9 with a flat 13th on it if you don't know where it is, things like that. So we're going to start off with the 6 basic forms, and then I'm going to show you a little progression, and that will be that. We'll start with the very basics. And there's only 6 chord forms you need to know, and they're all almost exactly the same with 1 or 2 fingers moving. That's it. There's only 3 fingers used, although you'll notice on the sheet that there are some extra optional notes on some of the chords. That's just doubling either the 3rd or the 7th. But let's start with the easy one. We'll just use the 6th string as a root, so we got our A right here, and we'll make a minor 7th. So instead of, most guitar players will play this bar chord, or maybe they'll do some other kind of funky chord down here depending where they're playing. But we're just going to do our A here, our G, which is the flat 7th, and our C, which is the flat 3 if we're in the key of C. So this is an A minor 2 chord in the key of G if we're talking about jazz progressions. But you can hear how nice that sounds. You could play with a pick if you want, but when I'm doing this kind of comping, I like the finger sound. Alright, so to make it a 7th, it's pretty obvious. We'll just raise up the 3rd to make it a C sharp, so it's now the natural 3rd. So we've got a 1, the flat 7, and the 3. So we've got a dominant 7th chord. So 1. And to do a major, the same thing. We just move up our flat 7th into a regular 7th. So now we're playing a G sharp, a C sharp, and an A. Really good for playing bossa nova, Latin type of stuff too, by the way. So now we have our complete 2-5-1 structure, barely moving. So that leaves our next set, which would be on the 5th string root. So we'll do a D in this case. So to do a D minor 7th, we've got our D, we've got our F, and we have our C, which is the 7th. Flat 7th, I should say. Let's correct that. So there's your D minor. So since we know that we've got our minor here, all we have to do is convert our 3rd into a regular 3rd instead of a flat 3rd. So we move our F to an F sharp. So we've got our D, F sharp, and C. So now we've got our dominant 7th. And now, to make that a major 7th, we have to just move up here to a C sharp. So you can see everything in these chords, you can just move one finger and you'll change from a dominant to a major or a minor. So once you get the fingerings down, it's very quick. So how would we use that? Let's say we're going to stay in our key of G major. Typical 2-5-1 would just be, you're starting with an A minor, comping a little to D 7th. G major 7th. Of course it would go on from there. You might be become a G dominant 7th, to a C major 7th, to an F sharp minor 7th. Then we run out of fret, but we can still get that B flat 7th. Then you got to figure out where you're going to come back in. But if you're playing, especially bossa nova Latin stuff, you can really get some cool progressions. So that's about all for this lesson. So that's about it for this lesson. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get some good information out of it, something to practice. Do that for a week or so and you'll just have these down. On the instruction sheet that there's a link to under this video or on the website, you will be able to get a PDF that also has some exercises and the optional notes that's on there. Those are optional, of course, and some other suggestions for how to play these. You can also get on this PDF the diatonic scale that you can practice this both forward and backward. That'll help you learn some stuff. But the best thing to do is just find some material and play with it. You know, get a fake book, get a bossa nova progression sheet or a jazz progression sheet, and just figure out how to play along with them at slow speed, high speed. Once you get your fingers in the groove with that stuff, it's very, very easy to just fall into that if you really have to, or if you need to, if the situation calls for it. So good practicing. Have a nice week.